Hi, this is Rebecca Chasen, the PR marketing assistant at Opera at Florham, and I'd like to welcome you to today's interview with the incredible and charismatic Matthew Ciuffitelli. He has been featured in many of our past musicales, including our Crossing Genres and an operatic holiday musicale this season. Matthew, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to be interviewing you.
Oh, it's an honor to be interviewed by you, Rebecca. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you. All right. So first question, how did you get involved with opera?
How did I get involved with opera? Okay, it definitely wasn't a straight line. So I was born in 1992. No, well, I was, but interestingly enough, if you ask my parents, I wasn't a big music listener really when I was a kid, which in comparison to the rest of my friends in my friend group, that was kind of weird. But when I did listen to music, if I found it on my own, oddly enough, I usually geared towards classical music, which is kind of strange for a 7 or an 8-year-old. I remember I had this, not a Walkman, I'm not that old, but like a CD player, but it also had like a radio function on it. And my parents, they tell me, I vaguely remember it, but they remind me constantly that I would always find a way to tune it to like WQXR or something, or one of the classical stations, and I would just be sitting there in bliss. Listen, I remember when my sister used to work at the Meadowlands racetrack, and we used to go all the time. She would take care of the horses there, and everybody would be watching the races, and I would be sitting in the corner listening to my little radio, like listening to classical music at like 8 years old, and they're like, "Huh, all right, this kid's kind of weird, but we love him anyway." Fast forward. Yeah, it was around 10. My parents threw me into a theater camp one summer, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. They could tell I liked it. And they signed me up for a couple voice lessons, like musical theater stuff, and a couple acting lessons. And I really enjoyed it. And then I got into high school, and I kind of dropped everything. I was just like a normal kid for a while. And then my junior year of high school, I was still taking acting classes though in school. My teacher for that class, who was also the director for the musicals, was like, "Hey, you should come try out for the drama." And I was like, "Okay, I don't want to do that at all. Please stop asking," kind of deal. And then I had like 5 or 6 friends that are like, "You should come and audition." And I was like, "All right." So I did it, and then I got a part in that, and I did that. And then they're like, "You should come and try out for the musical in the spring." And I was like, "Ooh, I really don't want to do that. I don't sing. I don't do that. And I definitely don't dance." So then I ended up doing that, of course. And I ended up getting a role in that. It was Rooster Annie. And I ended up loving it. And I was like, "What is this about?" And then I ended up doing the drama in the show the next year, which was Cinderella. And I got Prince Charming my senior year, and it was a blast. And I auditioned for a couple schools, but I was just kind of getting my feet in, and I didn't really know what the deal was. So I spent a year. I went to community college at Sussex County Community College, good old SCCC. And while I was there, I did the shows that they did there, and they did The Wedding Singer the first semester that I was there. And I had the incredible fortune of a retired opera singer named Christopher King being in the ensemble of this show. And initially, I had completely ignored him because he would accost me, as it were, after rehearsals, and be like, "You have a fine voice, young man," and I'd be like, "You're kind of weird." So I kind of kept my distance for no reason other than I was just preoccupied and being a part of the show and making new friends and all this stuff. And I had a very good friend of mine, very good singer, Eugene Stefacek, who's this incredible pop and R&B singer. He's in New York right now, who I'd always admired his voice for the longest time. Outstanding singer, a couple years older than me. And I had noticed over the time that I had gotten to know him over this past year that he had gotten even better. And I asked him, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm studying with this Christopher King guy." And I was like, the dude from the show, like the guy that kept bugging me? He's like, "Yeah, that guy." I was like, "I guess I got to give it a shot." sort of deal. And he's like, I have really good news. On top of him making you a better singer, he also feeds you at lessons. So like he cooks dinner and like we sit down and we eat dinner afterwards. And I was like, I'm sold. I'm in. So I showed up to the first lesson, and now I've known him for 10 years, and we are best of friends. He's my mentor, and he's been teaching me opera ever since. And he helped me figure out the deal for going to conservatory, for going out to Chicago, and then getting into my first few shows and doing ensemble work and chorus work, and then building my way up. And he's just been there every step of the way. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it. Yeah. And here we are today.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite thing about opera? Is there something in particular that you love about singing as opposed to just watching, and vice versa?
What specifically drew me to opera? It's difficult to put a finger on because it's such a broad, overarching art form that kind of encompasses everything. You got dance, singing, act, grand drama, incredible sets, costume, stage, live performance, non-amplified live performance, which is a distinction that as I get older and the more I do it and the more I consume it as a consumer as well as a performer, the unamplified aspect of it is something really, really special. And my teacher says it, and it took me 10 years to figure out kind of what he meant. But he says that the room is part of your instrument, and the room is part of the experience as well. I sing amplified as well too. I do musical theater and pop numbers, and I tour with a group called the Sharp Family Singers, and we go all over the world and we do that. But that's all amplified stuff. And it's amazing, but it's just different. The unamplified aspect of it is there's just a certain magic to hearing an unamplified human voice in a resonant room that just shakes you to your core. I don't know how else to put it. It's something I experience. I can't speak for everybody, obviously. But as a singer, it's such a contemplative art form. It's kind of like, I don't remember who said it, but it was like, if you're going to become a millionaire, it's not the $1 million that's important. It's the person that you become to be the person worthy of making $1 million. To be an opera singer, on top of it being this really physical, almost Olympic sport, just in regards to fine muscle tuning and practicing every day and training and having coaches and teachers and getting stage time and doing all these things. But at the same time, there's the mental game behind it, which is the being an artist thing, which it took me a solid decade of intense training to really kind of get to that point where I'm like, okay, I think I'm starting to become an artist here. I think I'm starting to understand what that is. And opera being, I could use the word Zen, I guess, in that case. This kind of step-by-step path to bettering yourself. Not to sound too woo-woo about it, but like you have to be a certain type of person to be in this art form, to succeed in this art form, to stay with it, and to give audiences a transformative experience, which is the point, which is why you go to any show, is you want to be transformed and transported. You're paying money. That's what I think you're paying money for. That's what I like to experience, which I've had several occasions like that where I'm like, I would have paid so much more. The concert at that Opera at Florham had this past Sunday was a transformative experience for me. I was just sitting in my seat, and it's a perfect space for it too. It's not too big where you lose the intimacy of it, and it's not too small where you're sitting on top of them and they're screaming in your face kind of deal, which can be fun a lot of the time. That can be a lot of fun.
So what is your favorite opera?
Probably Trovatore, not only because it's incredible. I think it's an incredible show. I love Verdi. Because I really want to play the lead in that show. someday, Canti Luna. Um, there's something I love playing villains just because it's a lot of fun, and he can have a lot of layers to him that I'm already like, ooh, I know exactly what I would do here, and like what my internalization would be here, and the context here, and like it doesn't necessarily even have to match what's going on, but like it's in my mind, and I can feel what that's gonna look like. I think is gonna look like if I were to do the role. I have to wait a little while because that is a big boy part. That's a big boy part. Probably how old am I? Let's say another 5 years minimum. But yeah, that's probably my favorite show.
Do you have one that you just like watching?
I never get tired of Bohème. Honestly, Rigoletto, and if I had to, Mephistopheles as well. Those off the top of my head, I could keep going, but those I would be hard pressed to get tired of seeing those and hearing them for sure.
Yeah. What opera would you recommend to someone who is on the fence about seeing opera?
I like there's the ABC method, which is Aida, Bohème, Carmen. Really, any of those three I think are a good fit. I say, why do you say that? I say, I don't know, because somebody else told me that, and I think they're great shows. So I have nothing against. I can't come up with a reason why not to. Funnily enough, I've never actually seen Aida live. I've seen videos of it, but I've never seen it live. But I've seen Bohème and Carmen a dozen times each. Me personally would probably be Bohème. If you can see it at the Met and see the Zeffirelli set is blow your freaking mind. It's insane what they've managed to do on that stage. Unless they've retired it, which I sincerely hope they haven't, but they could have. I don't know. They do that randomly every now and again. Carmen's, well, they're all Verismo operas too, so they're true to life, and they're kind of even the further like Bohème in particular. Puccini, I feel like, had a much more cinematic approach to both the music and the setting, and it takes place over like a you know what time period you're in, like, you know, this is one day, you're having one day of existence, we're going to sing about this one day, and then the time forward, the chronology of it moves forward, and you kind of you understand the time frame, versus like some Rossini operas, it's almost as though it like happens in a vacuum sort of deal, and you don't really know what's going on time, but it doesn't really matter because the music's amazing and the story still is coherent. But Verismo is kind of the I think it's closer to what people are used to in like television series and movies and stuff. So I think it's an easier transition, and they're also just so good. They're so good. The plot is timeless, like especially Bohème for me. Like currently I'm brushing up Marcello and Chenard for it, and I cannot. I've heard it 1,000 times. I cannot not weep from the second half of the last act to the end. And like I know what happens. I'm not gonna spoil it right now, but like I know what happens, and it's happening, and like I'm trying to say, and I'm like tears are streaming down my face for the 50th time this week that I'm working on this score, and I'm like, well, there must be something to this sort of deal. Like I can't be the only dude. So that's all. I would probably say Bohème of the three the most, but they're all really good.
Last question. What are you doing now, or what are you doing next?
Okay. Well, right now, given the plethora of extra time we've all been granted by this time, I am working on 4 different roles kind of at the same time, switching them out, getting them super polished. I'm working with my teacher, Christopher King, and my coach, David Maiulo, on getting them really polished. So if somebody asks, do you know this? I could go, yes. In the meantime, I've also been doing, I have taken a bit of a hiatus with social media over the past couple months, but I was doing that. I had a couple viral videos, which was a lot of fun. And I think I'm going to go back to doing that relatively soon. It's because I enjoyed it. Actually, it was a fun artistic expression. Couple concerts with the Sharp Family Singers are in the books. Whether they actually end up happening or not, we don't know, given the situation. But as of now, I think they're far enough out. Where are we? April. I think they're supposed to be June, July. So maybe things will clear up, and there's supposed to be a couple outdoor concerts I have coming up. And then there's a couple contracts that ended up getting nixed, like last February, that I'm just now hearing they're starting to plan to do. I have a couple Carmina Buranas that might be coming up with the Phoenicia Festival of the Voice, and potentially a Silvio, but I won't say more until I'm sure of that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Matthew, for joining me today. I know you're taking a break from social media, but when or if you come back, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok as The Opera Guy. On Instagram, it's _Opera Guy. Everywhere else is just The Opera Guy. Just look for my face. Or just my name, Matthew Ciuffitelli, which will be in the description or whatever. And that will take you right to me as well.
Wonderful. Thank you again. And to everyone, thank you for watching. Our next musicale is on June 6th, and I hope to see you there.
Awesome. Thanks again, Rebecca. Bye, everybody.